Draft FPL is finally back, and they've made some changes. Welcome back to the Draft FC podcast, the podcast website and YouTube channel dedicated to all things official Draft FPL, which is finally with us once again. It's been a long summer. It's been a long, nearly 2 weeks of waiting since the main game came out, but it is finally here. And the conspiracy theorists among you that suggested one of the reasons for the delay could have been that they were making some changes have actually been proven right, which I've said on many platforms already that I was looking forward to be proven wrong if that was the case, and wrong I was. Now, obviously we are in the midst, and in fact I just finished editing another one of our Draft FC Road to Draft Day episodes, and realised that I had to come to a screeching halt because there was an emergency pod needed because, it's about 6:30 UK time and the game has been live for an hour or two now. I had lots of the Draft FC members beavering away, hitting refresh, waiting for the game to finally load. And, then it appeared through the mists. And at first glance, I thought everything looked exactly as it was, which, to be honest, I wasn't too disappointed about because I was just glad to have the game back. Obviously, at Draft FC, been waiting to have the game back so that we could get all of the players added into our platform so that I can get my rankings in there ready for members to have a look at and also get predicted lineups in. So I'm now able to do that this evening, which is great. But we obviously have to discuss what these changes are, whether it actually makes a huge amount of difference. Are they changes that we wanted? Let's have a look. So basically, 3 key things to mention. So we've now got the ability, or apparently we've now got the ability to renew our draft leagues from previous seasons. So in the same way, if you have a league in the normal FPL game, when you come to restart the game next year, that league and the members who were in that league will automatically renew. Obviously, it's never been a function in Draft FPL. Every season has kind of existed as a standalone. Not sure what this will mean in terms of storing potentially some of your old season data. Obviously, that's something we've had as a feature on our site up to now. As I said, though, this has all been what they've published in their sort of press release for the release of the game. Haven't actually been able to use the renew function yet. We've only been able to create a brand new league. So I'm guessing they just wanted to get the game out ASAP and haven't quite flicked that switch yet to activate that. So for those of you in long-established leagues, or those of you that did play last year who are looking to play with the same group of managers this year, my advice would be to just be patient. Now, I'm bearing in mind it's going to take me at least an hour or so before I can edit this and get it out. So for all we know, it could get added in that time. However, it is 6:30 in the evening on a Thursday. So I'm fairly certain a lot of the FPL developers are currently having a pint. So we'll see. Our league are just going to be patient. We're not going to create a new league just yet. We can do that anytime up to draft day. So hopefully they'll add the renew function tomorrow. And the reason why we are being patient, and we're yet to decide what we're going to do yet, but the other new change is that if you do renew your league, that will pull in what the league data was from last year, because it will know who finished in which position. And as well as being able to do the conventional draft day with a random draft order, for renewed leagues, you will now have the option of being able to set the draft order to reverse standing order. So in other words, if you finish bottom of the league last year, you'll get first pick on draft day, and so on and so forth. So if you won the league, you could potentially be at a relative disadvantage. Really depends on how big your league is as to whether it is a disadvantage or not. I know for sure if you were bottom of the league or just under bottom of the league, I'd imagine you'll be pretty in favour of activating that. So I suppose it would have to go to a vote. It's nice to have. I mean, So I'll get into my thoughts in a minute. I won't go into them now. The final thing is that you can now do what's called a redraft. So this is a feature in other draft games. I wouldn't say it's a particularly popular feature, but I know it's something that a lot of leagues do out there. And so essentially what it means is that at some point in the season, you can hit the reset button and all redraft brand new teams. So every player goes back into the pile, you do a new draft day and come out of it with a brand new draft team. So in FPL, they're allowing us to do that up to 3 times per season in what they're calling a redraft. And for those redrafts, the draft order, in exactly the same way with those renewed leagues, can be random or can be the reverse league standings at however they happen to be in that moment. So I know for some leagues on different platforms, it is a popular thing that they will have a redraft halfway through, sort of after Game Week 19 is finished. I also know that some will have a redraft once the January transfer window is finished, which off the top of my head, I'm not entirely sure where that falls, probably about Game Week 22, but I'd have to double check in order to account for those new transfers and not have them all potentially mopped up by the teams at the bottom of the league. Yeah, so they're the changes. Not sure they're the changes we were asking for, but they are changes nevertheless. Let's cut quickly to the site and just show you actually what that looks, because actually when you go to create a league, it's easy to see where the changes come in. So let's just set up a test league, quick 8 teams, and so straight away you can see it's now asking when you want to set the initial draft for. So obviously the initial draft, you're going to want to set that to happen before Game Week 1. So that's what pretty much everyone's going to do, unless you happen to be drafting late. So you set that draft time in exactly the same way you normally would do. Now, because this is a brand new league, this isn't a renew league or anything, the only option for your draft order preference is random. Then below this is where you get the new feature. So it then says additional leagues, add additional league. And so this is where you can then set when you would want to have that redraft. So we can actually see, so there you go. The Game Week 24 deadline is on the 31st. So if you're looking to account for the January transfers, you'd want to do a redraft sometime before Game Week 25. So you can set that, set the brand new date and time for when you want that to occur. And for this, you then have the option of random draft order or descending rank, which will obviously be taken however the league standings are at the end of Game Week 24 in that case. And as I said, FPL are generously allowing us to do this 3 times. So if you wanted to redraft again, I don't know why you would, right, let's say right before the end, Game Week 36, then you can do that and again, set that up exactly as you want. Trades remain exactly the same, and waivers and free agents remain exactly the same too. So, initial thoughts. First and foremost, don't want to be ungrateful. I'm happy. I'm glad that they are, have put some time into the draft game. They've made the effort to make some changes. I'm just not convinced that these really were the ones we were after. My theory is they've obviously looked at the data, and we kind of clock this as well at Draft FC because of and we have to make allowances for it when we show our global data. The vast majority of draft leagues that are set up by casual managers with a league with random managers in them with a code that they've just shared on social media, most of the time they die off. By game week 5, 6, 7, you can see the engagement, the number of waivers happening in those leagues just regresses almost to zero, and they're just dead leagues really. So they've probably looked at that and thought, what can we do to keep those leagues engaged? And it seems to be like anything, like any game, always what they're striving for. It's always the reason behind any of the changes they've made. The reason why they've doubled the chips in the normal game this year, for example. They want to keep the casual managers playing and on the platform as much as possible. So they've obviously looked at draft, seen that there's a massive fall off, and gone, well, if we then allow leagues to just have another draft day whenever they want, then more people will kind of keep it ticking along throughout the season. And I've got no doubt for certain leagues that will prove to be a positive aspect. But I think for the majority, and the majority of you who are probably watching this, who are into Draft FPL who have played it many years already, I would guess not many of you are going to be fussed by that new edition. And I can say we haven't formally taken it to a vote yet in our main home league, but I would very much doubt we're going to be redrafting at any point during the season, to be perfectly honest. On a personal note, I suppose it's some extra content. It'll be interesting to see. I guess really we'll just have to suss out where people's heads are at as the season moves on, and I'm no doubt we'll start getting messages if redrafts are looming. I'd imagine after game week 19 is going to prove a popular time, and I would also imagine at the end of January is going to be a popular time too. So we'll sort of be able to do some draft day content again halfway through the season, so that'll be fun. I usually keep the rankings relatively up to date throughout the season, but this will probably just give me even more motivation to really keep those ticking over, because at any given game week, one of you could be drafting, so you'll need those rankings to be nice and up to date. So yeah, and of course, more reason to go and buy a Draft FC season pass. If you're in a league that is going to be redrafting, then you're going to want the rankings and all of our data right through the season and right up until the end. But yeah, it would have been nice to see, I feel like the effort they've put into those redrafts, surely they could have, instead of doing that, they could have just literally allowed us to do a completely custom draft order. That way, amongst yourselves, you can do whatever you want, play silly games, run a race marbles down a hill, whatever it might be, and then set your own draft order and just manually pencil the numbers in. I'm more than confident that the developers could code that into the app. And then the other big area is the waivers, which hasn't really ever changed since the draft game was launched 8 years ago. That would have been nice to have had some options in terms of rather than it just being bottom gets priority every week. There could be a sort of a rolling priority where you're sort of able to store your pick. So if you don't make a pick for a couple of weeks, maybe you become a preferential in the waiver order and can move to number one and be a bit tactical in that regard, rather than just having to chuck waivers in every single week. And then there's obviously some more complicated stuff, like using a currency or a fab system, which, to be honest, I would have been surprised if they'd suddenly unveiled that. But these are the things I would have probably preferred they were working on. I know others want some of the more squad flexibility and positional flexibility. To be honest, so long as we're playing on this platform, all of us, I think that is unlikely to happen, because the sort of the rigid 15-man squad structure, I think, is always going to be taking its lead from the main game. So until we see changes there, I think that will be difficult to change in draft. Of course, as well, we have the changes to the point scoring. We have the defensive contributions, which I think will make more of a difference in draft. So again, we have to be grateful for that. But yeah, it would have been lovely if all of this was done a couple of weeks ago, so that we could have really got our teeth and got our heads around it. But yeah, that'll do for this one. As I said, if you're new to draft, then head over to draftfc.co.uk and have a look there and see whether you would like to sign up. So I'm recording this on Thursday evening, so I'm hoping by the time you all wake up on Friday, there will be some draft rankings in there for you to have a look at. Version 1.0, of course, I'll be constantly fiddling with those over the coming days and weeks, and also some game week 1 predicted lineups, which are very useful to have a look at too, especially when you're trying to pick some players for those late rounds who you just need to really play for game week 1. You actually need to see who's potentially going to start. So yeah, follow us on X at draft_FC. Give us a thumbs up on here. Click the subscribe button. And for those listening on the audio, give us a follow on whichever podcast platform you are listening to. Kieran and I have sat down already today. We are doing a full team by team preview. We've already gone through 8 of those teams. So the first episode is already recorded. It's already edited. It's already published, but I'm just holding on to it to get this one out first. But make sure you are subscribed and hit the notification button, because I'll probably drop that episode as well today. So you'll get 2 in a day. Game launch and 2 Draft FC pods all in one day. Stay tuned.